This is Jim Nailon, liturgical guitarist. I'm going to share my arrangement of the classic hymn Be Not Afraid by Bob Dufford. I'll play through it first and then we'll talk about it. Excuse me. Oh, pretty close. So I put this little intro to it. Before we do that, first off, this is not in the key that you sing it in. You sing it in G, and it's not guitar friendly in the key of G for making a guitar solo. And so I finally tried it in D and found I could come up with a solo arrangement for it. So anyway, I started out with a little intro here. If you're using this at Mass, if you're singing this at Mass, generally I never have the need to play this instrumentally at Mass over all the years I've been playing, because the song is so long that I seldom get through the second verse. And there's 3 verses. But if the occasion ever arose where you needed to extend it, you could simply come off of the I will give you rest and do an A7, and then just come right into the, and then you're off and running on the instrumental. Skip the intro in that case. Okay, so now we'll start with the intro. Intro. Use your first and third fingers here on the top 2 notes of a D chord, so you can slide. And as you slide, you're sliding your third finger up from the 3rd fret to the 5th fret, and your first finger from the 2nd to the 3rd fret. So that gives you a nice glissando slide. And then these are ready to go up to the D chord here on the 5th and 7th fret. Then you put your little finger in for the sus. And then slide down to an E minor here. It's like a D minor slid up 2 frets. Over. All of these have a D bass, and then a D, and then an A, still with the D bass. and that leads you into the melody. So third finger on the fourth fret of the fourth string, and hammer on with your little finger onto the fifth fret. And then, so now you're playing a D. It's really a D sus2, because the open first string, the first string is open. Then bring the C sharp in the bass with your third finger. Then the B in the bass. Now here you're going to just bar, like a half bar. Or you can bar the whole thing, because you don't need that first string, so you can lay a full bar down. And then the bass run. Excuse me. And then bring that run up. Same. So through that whole, until you get to the last measure of that second line, you can leave your third finger down, or second finger down on the third fret of the second string. So this finger's never going to move. Now you got to lift it off. I guess that's now. Okay, that's the last measure of the second line. Then your little finger goes down and gets the C sharp bass, and your second finger gets the hammer on the second fret of the second string, that B to the C sharp, and then G over B. So now the melody's up in the top of the guitar. Let's talk a little bit about the voicing here in that first line. The melody is not the highest note. Usually the melody is the highest note, and in which case the ear is used to hearing the melody as the highest note, and it recognizes where the melody is. But the melody is in an inner voice here in measures 5, 6, and 7. And a little bit into 8. So you have to really, this is your melody here on the A on the second fret of the third string. So you want to pluck that nice and hard, because at the same time you've got an interesting bass run that I added in here, and that bass run is not in the original arrangement. You're doing a G over C. Maybe the piano's doing some bass runs, but I think I have and there is a lot of bass movement later on in the piece, but I try and keep that going, keep the bass lines interesting through this. So, so you got to balance the tone, the volume, get a good volume here on this note while you're bringing something out of that bass movement. And also you're playing two notes above the melody. You're doing the D and the E. So if you play those loud, then the melody gets lost. So the point is just to listen carefully with your ear, know where the melody is, use extra finger strength or energy on those notes to bring the melody out. Train your ear to listen to the melody. Make sure the melody's always in the front and not drowned out by other notes. If it is, then use less energy on those fingers. Now, when I was first learning classical guitar, and I was told, okay, you got to make some fingers, some notes louder than others, all with the same hand. I thought that was kind of how you're going to do that. But eventually you figure out how to do that, and a lot of it is in the listening, and pretty soon if you listen carefully for that melody and pay attention to it, your fingers kind of just sort of bring it out. So anyway, through the first line. So here we are to the G over B, measure 9. So now the melody's in the top, and still want to bring it out because you got the bass run still going. G over A, G, now the F sharp. Now we're to the E minor, the end of our bass run. And to the A. Little riff. Oh, and I didn't write the fingering on the A chord. I chose not to do that because I probably don't play it like any of you, and there's so many different ways to play an A chord that you're gonna have to figure out how you're gonna play it. A lot of people play the A with the first, second, third fingers, and you'd use your little finger to do that hammer on at the end. And I don't. So anyway. So I left you on your own on the fingering there. Now we're measure 13, the last line. D, then bar, second fret, F sharp, and at the start all you need is that bar, that first eighth note. That gives you a moment to put the second and third fingers down, and then same bar, just move those move your second finger over one string to the second string. Then drop the little finger in on the fourth fret. Boy, I'm confused. Fourth fret of the first string. Second finger, then no. Oh, you want to use your first finger on the E on the second fret of the fourth string. And then your second finger plays the F sharp going down, then the G with the open E at the top. And then a little bass run here, C, G over B, going down to an A chord. And again, I didn't give you a fingering on this A chord either, because if you played first, second, third fingers, it would be. But anyway, then we're to the top of the second page. A little different fingering on this D chord. Just don't go just grabbing a D chord. Put your first finger on the second fret of the third string, second finger on the third fret of the second string. Then your little finger's right there for the B minor, and you don't have to bar this B minor because you want to have that open E at the end there. And then from here, drop your first finger into the G sharp, first fret of the third string, and do a little hammer on, a little grace note. Lift off the second finger to the seventh, the open fourth string. It's funny, but that measure right there, that little measure on the E, when I was first learning this, that was the toughest part for me to get that down. It just didn't come natural. And then one day it was just there. And then the A sus4. So again, that A chord, the A sus4, I don't give you any fingering. Now we're getting ready for the refrain. Okay. Little hammer-ons there. And now the melody's going back down into an inner voice. And you got to really try and make something of it. And I try and do that by going up on these lower strings where you can get more vibrato, more tone. So on the D chord, measure 21. Third finger slides from the fourth fret to the seventh fret. And then you hit it again. And then the bass, the open D bass, it's a D bass, it's not an open D bass. You're going to put your first finger on the fifth fret of the fifth string. So open first string, and then the D is on the 7th fret of the 3rd string. Use your little finger to get that. So let's get that in the camera. One more time. And then slide that up 2 frets, and then back. And you get this run here. This is probably for most people, will be the trickiest part of the piece. And the G over B. Just a D sus4. So let's look again at that second line. One thing, if you don't, okay, well, let me play it with squeaks. This is what it sounds like. So there's some squeaks you can't get away from. Those squeaks are inherent. You're not going to get away from those. That's also just a part of the guitar. Some people don't mind them, some people do. If you don't mind the squeaks, then ignore what I'm going to teach here. But those I can't help you with. But from here out, instead of sliding down on the first finger, getting that squeak, lift off. So what you do is you just barely lift your finger. I'm lifting my fingers off and then moving and then putting them down. It's a lot easier to slide on this first finger, but you get all that fret noise. So if that's an issue for you, and especially since those, well, anyway, if that's an issue for you, then the trick is to lift off and move. Same thing. So going from here, you can slide on everything, but then you get a really loud squeak. So if you lift off, no squeak at all. Okay, here we are, measure 25 now. And the F minor, or the F sharp minor. And I had trouble with that F sharp minor too. I would touch the melody note with my little finger here. So the trick that I use for that is to just put the whole bar down first. Don't put these 2 fingers down only as you need them, and then they don't bother that melody note, the A there, the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. But you want to make that note needs to be really strong. So coming off measure 25, the start of that line. See how long that rings? So you want to really get a lot of energy here in this first finger. And then you're home free. And then at that point, when you can, depends on what you're doing. If you're playing this as a solo and you want to repeat the verse, then just go start in at measure 5 with the pickup before. Go right back into that. But if you're just doing one verse and out, or if you want to go back to the intro, the optional intro. So you're coming off the measure there that says DCL coda. move your first finger over to the first string, 2nd fret, and you're back into it. And then instead of going on where it says to coda, go down to measure 29. I think when I played it, I think I did that. I hit the G early, and then, but you kind of slow down a little bit in there. That's it. It's not the easiest, but it's not the hardest piece either. So it's just a few things that I'd never done before, and took me a while to learn it. But it's playable, and there aren't any other arrangements of this on YouTube. I think because it doesn't lay in the key that key of G. I don't know why other guitarists haven't tried to arrange this before. It's not an easy one to arrange, I guess. But anyway, so that's an arrangement for you if you would like to learn how to play that one. So that's all I have there. I pray God blesses your playing, and look for more arrangements on liturgicalguitarist.com, and I wish you peace.